Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, October 20th, 2022. We get together with our distribution partners most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central, to review strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, but ultimately we're here to support each of you. We did recently launch the weekly support calls. And so I strongly encourage, I plead with you, regardless if you're a regional vice president, one of our leadership team, or a white label partner, to schedule those weekly calls. They've been very productive. We're able to go through client status, of course, answer questions. If you're new, treat it as the first one as an onboarding call. It's just very, very helpful. And we've provided you that specific link to do so. All right, so today's training is a revisit of the SBA Express program. Couple things I need to say before we dig in. Number one, nothing's changed. This is the same form that, well, it's slightly revised, but it's essentially the same form that's been in your white label Dropbox. So this isn't something new. This isn't something different. But what we're doing periodically is revisiting the basics to make sure that everyone is clear. The second item that we need to clarify to avoid confusion is that you and I are technical advisors. That's what our job description is specifically. And we do three things. We help small businesses build financial literacy. We help them build a lender compliant loan package, and we help them become credible enough to access capital. So that's what we do. But there are a couple different campaigns that are available, and where we sometimes see confusion is people confuse the campaigns. So let's pretend that you and I are going to go open a restaurant, and we sell two things, just to keep it simple: pizza and wings. Are they different? They're different. So the access to capital is, we'll call it pizza. So it is what it is, right? Not to be confused with wings. And so the SBA Express program is a great offering, but it does operate differently. Wings are different than pizza, and that's okay. There's two different food types. There's two different funding programs. And so a lot of times when I visit with many of you, I'll sometimes encourage you, if I feel like you're overwhelmed, just to focus on access to capital, just because learning pizza and wings sometimes can seem overwhelming for some of our new partners. But the truth is, we offer both pizza and wings, and it's probably a good idea that you understand that we have both pizza and wings. So the access to capital, I think we've been covering it enough. I think people are familiar with it. That's not our discussion today. Our discussion today is the SBA Express program. It's remarkably valuable, but it does operate differently. Wings are different than pizza. So let's go through this. And again, this is in your, well, I emailed it out to each of you this morning, but it's also in your white label Dropbox, and it's not a change. It's just trying to bring it to your attention. Okay, so tagline here is at no cost to you. And when we say that, we're saying as a white label partner, it doesn't cost anything to enroll. You can earn 10,000 plus, and we'll talk about how the dollars are tracked here in a minute. So that's validated and explained. But you can earn 10,000 plus by referring each person to the SBA Express program for fast funding up to 150,000. This is the training packet for that. If you're going to offer the SBA Express program, I think you owe it to yourself, and I think you owe it to your clients or even prospects to go through the training. The training links are provided here. In just a few minutes this morning, I'm not going to be able to cover all of this information. It's not even my attempt, my goal. But my goal is to make you aware of, number one, the SBA Express program exists, and so you may want to offer it. And number two, that this training packet will get you up to speed on it. I know many of you are busy and you all are successful, so time is precious. But if you're going to offer the SBA Express program, I think it's really important that you go through this training. And then if you have questions afterwards, let's visit about it. But it's kind of unfair to you, and it's a little bit unfair to us for you to not have the commitment to go through the training curriculum and just pepper us with questions. That's not the most effective or efficient way to learn. Let's go ahead and go through some of the highlights through the introduction of the SBA Express program. So each participant receives a $1,500 grant allocation and professional assistance in creating a loan package for up to $150,000. Now there's many layers to this, and you'll learn more about it if you go through the other training. First of all, the SBA Express program that we have is a partnership with a specific bank. A specific bank. This is a specific program. So you could say, well, hey, SBA loans go higher than 150,000. This is bullshit. Well, no, this specific program is with a specific bank that caps at 150. It doesn't go above 150. That's the way this is set up. So do SBA loans in general go higher than 150? Of course. You can go up to in the millions of dollars. The other thing that's important to understand is the SBA is truly not the lender. They're the guarantor. Therefore, the actual lender that you're going through to access the SBA loan could have their own set of underwriting criteria. What I tell you is, of course, truthful and accurate for this program. You'll have sometimes people that say, well, no, startups can't qualify for an SBA loan. Well, that's wrong, right? Many people are wrong and they don't even know it. But yes, startups can get an SBA loan through this program. Now, it could be very well that some other banks will not entertain an SBA loan for startups, but that's the bank's requirements, not the SOP, the standard operating procedures of the SBA. So you don't want to get into an argument with your clients or your prospects about how the SBA loans work. But what I'm telling you is truthful for our program, but there are other truths outside of the program. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, when we're referencing this $1,500 grant allocation, that's because putting together the loan package is normally $2,500. You're familiar with that with the access to capital, of course. Well, for us, we're only charging $1,000 to do this for the SBA Express program. So $2,500 minus $1,500 equals $1,000. Half of that is paid up front. Half of it's paid after the client gets funded. You can mark that up as much as you want. And as you'll see as we go through here, we do not charge a performance fee for the SBA Express program. That does not mean that you can't or you shouldn't or that you won't charge a performance fee. And so you certainly could. So you can mark up the base price and you can add a performance fee if you want, but we'll get to money in a minute. So this loan package is specifically tailored precisely for what's needed for this SBA Express loan. So I started working on this when I actually worked for the SBA. I flew to Washington, D.C. I met with the president of the bank that we're working with. It's actually a father-son team, president and vice president of the division. So they formed a specific division that is laser focused on SBA Express loans up to $150,000. That's our partnership. And it is, so again, everything I'm telling you is true for this program. If you try to extrapolate it out to the larger world, that's likely to result in untruths. So do we need a business plan for the SBA Express loan, for our loan program? Yes. How long is it? It's one page. Again, I went up, met with them. We put all this together. So I know exactly what's needed. It's a one-page business plan. Is it 2 pages? No, it's 1 page. Is it 5 pages? No, it's 1 page. It's specific. We have exactly what the bank wants for financial projections. We can even go through and calculate what the client's payments are going to be. But no, don't bring us prospects that have a million questions about interest rates. And I can talk to you about the cost structure somewhat, but you and I don't work for the bank or any banks. At least I don't. I'm assuming you don't. So we want to always avoid quoting payments and quoting interest rates because it's outside of our control, and those things can change. And right now we are in an environment of rapidly increasing interest rates. But the SBA loans have low interest rates by design, by federal mandate. So we're going to build a loan package. We can get that done pretty quickly. Then we're going to submit that into the bank. We've got, again, a direct relationship with them. We're usually getting same day approvals, which is great. And then funding in as few as 10 days. Now, the truth is it's 10 business days. And you'll have people come and say, oh, no, you can't get an SBA loan that fast. Well, from their experience, maybe that's true, but now they're extrapolating that out to our program, and they probably don't know our program. And so everything I'm telling you is true about our program, recognizing there could be untruths to it if people are applying these specifics outside of our program. Hopefully that makes sense. As I mentioned, startups qualify, so that is not a barrier. It could be a brand new business. The 165 is the FICO SBSS. They're not using personal credit. We're using the FICO SBSS scoring algorithm. What you and I know, there's a lot of financial illiteracy, right? So you and I know things that other people don't know. And so when we say things that we know, other people can sometimes be confused or not even trust it. I've had people come to me and say, well, how in the world can it be a 165? Credit scores don't even go that low. Well, that's financial illiteracy, right? There are different credit scoring algorithms. There's algorithms for mortgages. There's algorithms for car loans, for credit cards, and also for business loans. And so we're talking about a different algorithm. It's called the SBSS. It goes up to 300. That's the maximum score you can have. Do you have to have a score that's 300? No. Do you even have to have a score in the 200s to get approved? No. We can have actually a pretty low score. Now, we'll help them figure out what their score is. Don't worry about filtering people on that. And if it's not where it needs to be, we can help them get it there. So that's not a concern. This is not a filter, but it certainly is encouraging the low threshold for approval. The payments are low, and the reason the payments are low is because it's a low interest rate. It's set off of prime rate, and currently it's 4.75% above prime, and it's a 10-year repayment term, 120 months. Okay, so there's the introduction. Now, there's these on-demand trainings that we encourage you to go through. And my goal today is to bring these to your attention. I'm not going to summarize each. You can see it. I sent this to you this morning. It's in your white label Dropbox. If you want to help people with this program, you should be, in my opinion, you should be respectfully, you should be diligent enough to go through these trainings. The pro model training, let's go ahead and talk about that because it's worth noting. What do you and I know? More than anything else, if you make it simple for clients to enroll, my God, man, you'll enroll a lot of clients. If you make it difficult and clunky, a lot fewer people will enroll. So you don't have to do this best practice. It frankly doesn't matter to me. It just matters how much money you want to make, how many people you want to enroll, how much volume you want to do. But man, set up an online landing page specifically for this program, not combined, not a general website. Set up a standalone landing page that just talks about these perks and these benefits and gives them an opportunity to directly enroll right there on your page. If you do that, you'll see tremendous growth. The more difficult you make it, the more clunky it is, the fewer conversions you'll have, the less money that you make. So you'll learn about that in the pro model training. We can go out and do in-person workshops. We're scheduled to do one of these in Detroit on Saturday. I got to get my ticket here pretty soon. And we're doing, we can do these trainings in person, which is great. And where during one day, we actually put their whole package together. So anyway, these are the on-demand trainings that I encourage you to go through if you're going to be engaged in this campaign. But if you want to just sell pizza and not wings, using access to capital's the analogy to pizza, then you can discard all this. Excuse me. You do not have to offer this. And I'm going to make some more comparisons and contrasts from this to access to capital in a second, but we'll get to that in a moment. So let's go ahead and review the comp. Now, we had a whole comp training and process up here, but just so you're clear, you set the client pricing. So you're not going to come back to us and say, oh, this is too expensive for the client. And you're not going to come back and say, oh, I don't make enough money off of this, because that's foolishness. You control the client pricing. You have the editable agreement in your white label Dropbox, and you set the pricing. You make as much as you want to make. Unlike access to capital, we don't share in the performance fee. So if you want to add a performance fee to the SBA Express, go for it. Whatever you make it is what you charge and what you keep. So that's a difference, isn't it? You keep all the profit. So essentially, what you're paying us spread over 2 points in time. And of course, you're collecting it from the client. So I'm not saying this is coming out of your pocket. That'd be craziness. I'm not asking you to pay anything, but I'm saying what you would collect from the client to pay us to develop the loan package is essentially $1,000. Half of that paid at time of client enrollment after they receive their SBA funding. Thus, anything that you charge more than that is your profit. And as we said, you can add a performance fee if you want, and that adds to your profit because you keep all of it on this campaign. So again, what we're going to do is develop the loan package with them, tailored specifically to what the lender wants. All right, and then our support model is the same as always. We have the daily support Zooms, which we're on now live, and you may be listening to the recording afterwards, and so the registration is always the same. If you need assistance, of course, now we're scheduling weekly calls, but you can text us and either text a question or request a call back. Okay, so there's that. We've got a bunch of questions I want to start addressing, so let's dig into those and then see where we go from there. So first question is, when should we decide whether to submit SBA Express or access to capital? Well, first of all, if the client wants more than $150,000, then this is not going to work because there's a hard cap on it. Other than that, because keep in mind, we can help people get SBA funding through the access to capital. But this is very specific. So let's use another restaurant analogy. We'll use a different one. Access to capital is like going to Golden Corral. It's a buffet. There's all kinds of items. There's some steak and there's some shrimp and there's desserts and there's salad. So there's almost unlimited different choices of food or funding in this case. But now let's go to a hot dog stand, and all they sell are hot dogs. And so the SBA Express program is going into a program for a specific funding type versus access to capital, which could be this. There could be hot dogs on the buffet, but certainly there's a lot of other choices. So it's beyond that, though, it's really up to you. The SBA Express is nice because it puts money in your pocket immediately, because you're going to collect at least $4.99, I'm assuming, because that's what you got to send to us. I'm assuming you don't want to subsidize the client. So if you're marking that up, it puts money in your pocket immediately, whereby the access to capital is deferred. They don't pay their deposit until afterwards. But it's really more of a matter of preference. And it's interesting, and I guess this is true with anything. Sometimes when you go out to the market with a campaign promoting the SBA Express program, some people love it. They recognize it. It seems familiar. It seems desirable. It's something they don't know how to get on their own. And so it's a plus. And then for other people, it's a negative. Oh, I don't want anything to do with an SBA loan. So I think it's a campaign that you could run in addition to your other access to capital, or you could skip this completely. My goal is just to familiarize you with it, but it's up to you on what you want to pitch. I've described the primary and fundamental comp differences. Here, you're going to have to collect some money from the client up front, and some of you don't like to do that. So if you don't like to collect money from the client up front, you wouldn't offer this, right? You'd go to access to capital. Some of you are interested in teaching in-person classes. This is a great model for that. Some of you, and some of you want to keep 100% of the performance fee. And so this is a great vehicle to do that. But there's no right or wrong answer. Pizza and wings, both good, just whatever your preference is. Okay, next question. Is it easier for clients who've received an SBA loan before to receive the SBA through this program, funding through this program? Not necessarily. No, I think it's indifferent. It doesn't matter if they've received an SBA loan or not, if they've received EIDL or PPP, it really doesn't matter. It's indifferent. It's not part of the criteria. Time frame for a loan package, and that I probably didn't make it clearly enough. Our goal is to get the loan package done very quickly. So this is another important difference. How long should it take us to build a loan package for access to capital, which is not what we're on right now? 28 days, right? It's a structured 28-day process. How long should it take for the SBA Express? About 1 week. Well, why in the world is it so much quicker? Because it's laser focused, right? We know exactly what's needed. We know that we just need a one-page business plan. We don't have to develop the same complicated full-scale business plan that we would normally do in access to capital. We know exactly the financial documents that's needed. So it's just streamlined because it's going after a specific funding source versus general preparation, right? So hopefully that answered your question, Quincy. And so we've got a really good question. Absolutely, we can certainly take someone in, bring them in the SBA Express program, get them their first 150, and then enroll them in the access to capital and go after additional capital. So absolutely, I wouldn't do both at one time. I think that's going to be confusing and I would not best for the client. But yes, it would be perfectly fine. Bring them into the SBA Express program, and then after funding, switch them over. Now, also what could happen is we bring a client into the SBA Express program and they stall out. They're not a good fit for one reason or the other. Then we could always switch them over. And if that's the case, we would credit the money that they've paid, so they would never lose that money. All right, so we had a question about the credit, but I think we covered that. So if I haven't been clear on the 165 FICO, I attempted to discuss that earlier, but we can go back to it if there's more questions. Let's see. Linda asked, do we have a calendar schedule of all of the same day trainings? Oh, okay, gotcha. So what she's asking about, which is an awesome, like the one we're having in Detroit, and Bruce, I believe, is going to be there. Bruce is online here. One of his team has set it up. But so these are closed trainings. So these aren't open. And I probably didn't clarify that before. So we would, if you wanted to do this, we would work with you. We'd pick a day, we'd pick a location, and then we would enroll people that are going to come in for the one-day workshop. Could be a Saturday, sometimes Sunday, could be a weekday, but Saturday is probably the most frequent. And then for that group of people, we're literally building their loan package in one day instead of 7 days. And we're applying for the SBA funding before we leave that afternoon. Now, granted, we're not going to get same day approval if we submit the application to the lender on a Saturday or late in the day on any day, because it's going to be 3 or 4 o'clock by the time we're submitting their apps. But that's really a nice way to reach more people, is to do an in-person workshop. But these are closed. So these are set up in coordination with one of you for your sphere of influence. It's not marketed to the rest of you. So I'm sorry I didn't clarify that before. So if you wanted to host a workshop, again, go through the training. It'll make sense and we can do so. Or if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Doesn't matter to me. All right. So Frankie's talking about someone that has challenged credit. We just never ever worry about credit. Credit is fluid. It has no memory. I mean, how many of you, I know I used to have a bankruptcy on my credit. I went through our credit suite, bam, it was gone. I didn't have a bad credit score. I paid everything post bankruptcy, but just having that bankruptcy on there held the score back. There's no memory of that anymore. People that have extra inquiries and collections and charge-offs and these issues, that has no memory. We block that off with the 60-day credit suite. So the point is, Frankie, we don't worry about people that have credit challenges. Credit has no memory. All right. Linda asked if they signed up for access to capital. So we always have to follow agreements. And so that's not meant to be bureaucratic, but agreements are important in our society because it clarifies each party's responsibilities. And so Linda's asking if someone has signed up for access to capital, can they switch? Well, they're under contract. And so what I would do is if they want to start with SBA Express, go ahead and enroll them in SBA Express. We wouldn't terminate the access to capital, but we'll do just whoever was asking this earlier, I think it was Quincy was asking earlier, we could enroll them in the SBA Express, take them through that, and then go back to the access to capital. But once an agreement is signed, that's important because that shares and states the roles and responsibilities of both parties. So we're never going to be in a role of just dismissing an agreement. Okay, thank you, Linda, for that. Quincy's asking about this one-day workshop. So yes, I'll address it more, but again, this training should help you. So that is what I meant to say earlier, and I probably wasn't clear enough. So if someone just enrolls in the SBA Express, it's not in person, right? It's normal, right? We're here, they're there. We're working with them over a week or so to get their loan package put together. Alternatively, we can get groups of these people together. You could. So they're your clients and you're making money. We'll send myself or one of our qualified instructors out. We'll work with you. And during that one day, we will complete the loan package. So not 7 days. I guess maybe I can draw a line through it. I don't know how to do that. But instead of, does that work? There we go. Not 7 days. Instead of 7 days, it would be 1 day. Wouldn't that be great? And so then at the end of the afternoon, we are submitting their application to the lender. So that's exactly what I was trying to convey, Quincy. Sorry for my lack of clarity. Okay, so we're near the bottom of the hour. Let's just summarize. There are different campaigns that you and I have access to help small businesses improve financial literacy, build a lender compliant loan package, and access capital. One of which is the SBA Express program. It is different than the access to capital. We've gone through and talked about the highlights of the SBA Express program. We've clarified that there's on-demand trainings that you need to go through if you want to offer this campaign. No, you don't have to sign up for something different. As a white label partner, this is, for those of you that have been around for a while, we recontracted with our white label partners in the summer of this year. Why did we do that? Because we rolled out the SBA Express program and needed to include that in your white label partnership agreement. I think it's Exhibit C, if I recall. With that being said, this is available to each of you now to offer if you want to make it available. If you don't want to, don't do it. It doesn't really matter. Yes, you get the same credit because we know as a white label partner, you're expected, we're here to support you, but you're expected to enroll at least 8 clients a month, 2 a week. And so, yes, these count just the same. So with that being said, I think we've covered it. I've emailed this out to each of you this morning, but above and beyond that, it's been in your white label Dropbox from the day that your white label Dropbox was created. So if you want to use this campaign, it starts with getting properly trained. Once you've gone through, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trainings, take you 4 hours, which I know time's valuable, but in 4 hours, you'll be open and ready for business, and you'll be able to make 10,000 plus for helping each client. Again, you all are very fortunate, very successful, but take the average person and say, hey, would you invest 4 hours if you could start making 10 grand per client, per referral? Yeah, most people would say, hell yeah. And so that's what we're asking you to do. Go through the training if you want to offer this. We're here to support you, but it starts with you going through the training. All right, we'll see you all back tomorrow morning. Thank you. Bye-bye.